taking time out of his busy schedule, even delaying his tea time just a little bit to join us here today, the newest member of our broadcast team. You're going to see him all over ABC and ESPN this year. It is the one and only Doc Rivers. Doc, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us today.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you guys had me, and I'm glad I could fit it in, by the way.
I was worried for a minute. I would never want to stand between you and the golf course, so I will not delay the questions any further. Doc, before you joined us here at ESPN, right, you spent the last 3 years as the head coach of the Philadelphia 76ers, and before we get into everything that is going on now, can you just explain, at the end of your tenure, what was your relationship like with James Harden?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was pretty much neutral. It was an honest relationship at the end of the day. I was very honest. I really believe there's ways you have to play to win. And, obviously I was never willing to compromise on that and never will be. But it was a relationship of communication. I can tell you we talked when we needed to talk all the time. And so in that part of it, it was pretty good.
So with that as the backdrop, did you see this trade request and the subsequent fallout coming? And what's your reaction to all this? We haven't gotten a chance to hear that yet.
It's a good question. I don't know if I saw it coming because I did think that they would all figure it out. But obviously, once you saw James opt in, you knew there was trouble in paradise. You just knew that. I believe he believed that he was going to get taken care of at some point. He didn't, and he's upset by it. And then the Sixers, on the other hand, are thinking more, team-wise and future-wise and what they want to do. So it's a tough situation. I would be surprised if it's resolved unless there is a trade.
When you saw or heard the Daryl Morey is a liar comments, did those surprise you?
It surprised me only from the point that James, who has had a long relationship with Daryl, it surprised me in that way. I do know a little bit that I'm just not going to share some of it, but I do know that James believed what he believed, and it's hard to talk him away from that.
Yeah. I don't want you to speak, I wouldn't ask you to speak for anybody, but you have such a unique relationship with James, with Joel Embiid, with the 76ers. Mm-hmm. How do you see what Joel is making of all of this, the reigning MVP?
Unfortunately for Joel, he's had to deal with a lot. In my 3 years, we had the Ben Simmons situation. Then we have the James situation incoming. And so, with Joel in all 3 years of the playoffs I was there, he was injured. So he's had to deal with a lot. My guess is he's sitting back and he's going to evaluate the situation. And then at some point, I think we will hear from him. That could be a positive thing or a negative thing. But I do think we will at some point.
You said that you would be surprised, right, to see this resolved if a trade doesn't come to fruition. And there have been some people who have said, well, what does James want? Does he want to win? Because this might be his best scenario. Does he want to play his style? When Joel Embiid was out, I think last year, to the 40-point game that he had and what that potentially unlocked in his confidence and still seeing himself as that player. Where do you see him on that contingent, on that continuum, rather?
Well, from coaching for as long as I coach, everyone wants to play their style. I mean, if you ask every single player, they'll say, hey, I want to play my style. But that doesn't mean you're all allowed to play that way if you want to win. So, I actually think James was I thought we had a legitimate shot last year. Obviously, we didn't get it done. What's the best situation for him to win? You can make a case either case, at least with the teams that have been mentioned. Going to the Clippers would give him a great opportunity. Staying in Philadelphia, to me, the East is not very strong this year. And so you can make a case that may be the best situation. I mean, I look at the East right now, you can never count Miami out. They have Jimmy Butler and they have some really good pieces, but they lost some pieces as well. Milwaukee has made a dramatic move. Boston has made a dramatic move. But after that, you can make a case that the pathway may be easier in the East than it is in the West. The West is tough this year.
Because it is the biggest question mark in the NBA right now, just circling back to this, Doc, your advice to James Harden heading into the season is what?
just play and it'll work out. James is a terrific player. And if he has to go to Philadelphia, clearly that's not the situation that he wants to be in. Going by what he has said, just go and play, be a pro. And I think it'll all work out. But he's in a tough spot. We all know that. It's hard to walk back all the things that have been said. It's a tough situation for him, but I think he'll be able to get through it.
Before you get to head out to the golf course, Doc, may I ask, the picture behind you is
It's just a great photographer. I just love the picture. It just shows, two African kids dancing with no shoes on because they didn't have them. It's a beautiful picture. I just love it.
And just exuding black joy, which I love to see. Doc Rivers, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us here on ESPN on NBA Today. We cannot wait to see you make your debut alongside Mike Breen for Lakers Warriors on Friday. Are we going to get a bang from you?
No, I'm going to give that to Mike. That's his. I'm going to have Doris come up with another one, and then I can come up with the third.
Boom. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Doc.
Yes. Take care.
I'm on fire. It's NBA,